Good morning. It's day 4, and I'm feeling a little bit tuckered out after yesterday. I forgot how much events take out of me. It's like I forget every time. But feeling really good about yesterday. And this morning, I'm feeling a little bit like I've got too much information, too much data, and I need to do some learning from it. So fortunately, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be joining the Growth Trackers session on that very topic. Thank you, Lex Roman, for running that. It's super helpful. And I was just going to do a quick kind of preliminary run through of the tests that I've been running, maybe the tests that I haven't documented yet, but sort of started without going through the rigor of the process. So I thought I'd just show you a little bit about that. So here's just a quick overview of my test notebook setup. I'm using my Remarkable tablet to keep a running log of the tests that I run. And the important elements here are basically to have a plan, have a rationale within that plan, and of why doing that test makes sense. And then have a prediction and a section for the results that actually happen. So what do you think is going to happen? What actually happens? And that's what sets you up to learn, because you learn better from failing, right? Like making a wrong prediction. It's like, oh, it worked differently than I thought. Helps you engage more frictionfully with the information and actually sit there and appreciate it, as opposed to just letting it breeze by you. One event that I had, or one test I had running here, was to run an event in order to pitch the starter offer, which was like a $199 Wardley mapping session with Ben. And I think we've learned that we have to that offer doesn't work. So I actually need to wrap up this test and figure out what I learned from it. I think my prediction here was oh, I'll run an event. That was the Wardley Mapping Basics event yesterday. And I would use that event to remind people what it's like to work with me. And maybe I'd pitch that starter and a few people would be interested in it and sign up for it. And especially frame it as a team activity. Now, I kind of lost faith in this offer. So again, I need to do some rethinking on this, but expected results were 20 attendees, 5 people would click on the final offer that I make at the end for the starter, and then nobody would purchase. So super optimistic me. What actually happened is, again, I'm learning the lesson. I keep forgetting to include all the metrics that I'm going to be seeing in my prediction. So I didn't include the email invitation to the event. So attendees connects to registered and attended here. So 131 people actually registered. I need to update this. About 45 different people joined the call at various sections, so way more than I thought up here. And I need to go find I had to resend the follow-up email with the offers and things. I think about 4 people actually signed up for the offer, or signed up for interest for the offer that I did make, which was the Wardley Mapping Roast. Sorry, I know I'm a little scattered this morning, so this may or may not make sense. So I need to go through and update this information. I'll do that later. And I haven't given anyone the chance to purchase anything yet, so that's on hold. So that's kind of what's going on there. Let's see, what other offers do we have? Generally speaking, I've been doing this vlog thing, where I make videos every day. I thought maybe 10 people would view each video. I thought 10 people might sign up in ConvertKit to get these videos. In fact, 31 did. So that's really awesome. I need to think about those results a bit. And I also thought that I would feel better having to articulate my plan, my intention. I have this weird thought that a lot of the times I feel adrift. And the reason that I feel adrift is because I don't know what story I'm a part of. And to give myself a narrative coherence, I think making these videos is a good way to sort of articulate an intent, and then I have to follow through on it, right? Because now I'm accountable to you in a weird way. So telling you what story I want to be a part of is an important piece of actually being part of that story. So this is sort of a way of doing accountability for me. I did that giveaway that I mentioned yesterday, where I asked for feedback for the people who clicked on the entry-level offer that failed, and I offered to do a free mapping session with who have like one person from the people who responded to that feedback request, and I announced that winner yesterday. And this morning I sent out sort of a consolation prize email. It's like, hey, if you didn't win, here's something I might do. Maybe you could be first to do the Wardley mapping roast with me. So instead of offering it to 3, I ended up offering it to 5 or 6. I don't know if anyone will accept, but I'm predicting that one will. So we'll have to wait to see what happens there. And then there's another test that I need to write down, which is like yesterday I did something really important, I think, which was articulating who I think Wardley mapping is for. And I haven't done a very good job of that in the past. So I want to write that down as a test. So we'll do this really fast because I need to join this call in 2 minutes. But okay, so it's 2024, March 3rd. And I'm kind of going back and talking about like who is Wardley mapping for? It's kind of the persona. So it's like propose, basic personas, and then see if it resonates. Forgive my handwriting here. And the reason that makes sense is because it will help me speak to the pain. Instead of leading with the technology or like what is good for the method, whatever, I can lead with the pain if I validate that these are the right personas, the right people to be targeting. So if I'm documenting this after the fact, I will run an event. I will propose, this is you. And just to be abundantly clear, I'm referring to this slide, right? Where I say you're a professional in a complex sector, or you're a business, government, or NGO leader. And this was my proposal of these personas, right? So, and then gauge the reaction, and both in terms of like what people say and what they write in chat. And I expect that I'll get it wrong. And some will say, that's me. Okay. I'm not doing a very good job of making this falsifiable, but I'll probably do another pass on this. And I'm also doing this post hoc, right? So I already ran the test. And the actual result was like there was a lot of resonance. Like if I went back and looked through the chat messages last night, and I remember what people said. It's like, yes, that's me. I was surprised to hear both personas applied, but that does make sense because I mentioned the professional and I also mentioned the leader. So there are professional leaders or like individual contributors entering leadership roles. That makes sense to me. And then the other thing was like there was a third one that I left out, consultants, which to all the consultants out there watching this, I love you, but I'm not trying to sell things to you. I'm not trying to serve you. I think you'll benefit from the stuff that I make, but you're not the target market for me. And that's okay, because there are other people who will gladly help you. So, but it was good to hear that. So I'm going to do a little reflecting on like the learning from that later, but I just wanted to show you what it's like to fill this out a little bit. I know I skipped over a bunch of steps, but maybe I'll do more of that in the future. All right, I'm back. It's been quite a day. Had a bunch of meetings. I spent some time with growth trackers today again. Lex was super helpful, helped me take a look at my email sequence, which just to kind of give you some context, when you visit learnwardleymapping.com, one of the ways that I sell the online course that I have is through an email sequence that gets kind of triggered whenever someone signs up for the mailing list, specifically through this thing called an exit intent. It's a type of pop-up that is, in my opinion, the least annoying kind of pop-up that can exist. And instead of a sign up for an email list just sort of statically in the page, what this does is whenever someone goes to leave the website and the mouse cursor leaves the window, then it triggers. So if they were already on their way out, they could still be on their way out. But if they decide to take a moment to pause right at that moment and read through and then decide, it just is a better way of both honoring their time without being annoying as hell. So when someone signs up for this, they get something called a lead magnet. A lead magnet is a piece of value that's low cost or free. And in my case, it's a learning plan. It's a bunch of resources and links that they get when they sign up for the list here. And then when they, let me see here, I can probably pull open my email list here. Okay, so here's my ConvertKit instance, my email list. So I've got a learning plan here, and we can look at the reports here to see, like, it's a 4 email sequence, and you can see the performance of every one of these emails. And so what we did was we tore it down a little bit during the session today, and I realized that I did the bare minimum to set this email sequence, and I don't know if it's actually working or not to sell the course. And I'm confusing purposes. Like, learnwardleymapping.com, yes, does need to educate people on what Wardley mapping is all about, but if I'm putting people through an email sequence, it needs to stay on task. And right now it's not staying on task. It's getting lost. And I do have an interesting story here about, like, how I got into Wardley mapping and things like that, but I need to make it sell the course as opposed to sell Wardley mapping in general. May have been that in the past, selling Wardley mapping in general was the right thing to do, the better thing to do, because people don't know what it is. Now we're at this weird inflection point where a lot of people are coming to the site and they kind of know what it is. They've seen a talk or what have you. So I need to be shifting focus to selling the course instead. So I diagnosed that these middle 2 emails, while interesting content, and people open them, and maybe they even read them, they don't do the work of selling the course and explaining the value and the benefits of the course that I have. So that's useful to know. And yeah, so I'm going to work on that a little bit. And one of the things that we are trying to figure out is, like, are people even buying as a result of the email list? Like, can I even attribute the email sequence here as being the reason that people buy? So I've got some metrics that I'm going to have to look through. I've got some work ahead of me, and I'm going to write some JavaScript, unfortunately, to compare to CSV files and see if the people who bought the course are in the list of people who were in the email sequence. And that's only a small nightmare, but it'll be not too terrible here, because I like a little challenge like that. The other thing I made some progress on, which I really didn't intend to, like, I always try to make things bigger than they need to be, and I was making this Wardley mapping roast concept, getting that launched to be this big thing. Like, I want to build an intake form and a landing page. And I need to figure out pricing, and then I need to figure out how to write the email that introduces it to people. The overcomplication, right? 6 people have... Is it 6? Yes. 6 people have signed up for interest in the Wardley Maps roast idea. But the interesting thing is that 3 of those people have already been in my email inbox talking to me about the idea, which is really cool. So I started making some, like, proposals to them about how that sort of thing might work. And I'm doing a thing where I'm going to do it for them for free if they'll be willing to release it publicly, so that we can show other people what the process looks like, what it looks like to get a roast, if you will. Constructive feedback is the better word. Someone else called it a rate my map thing, which is funny. I like that. And so we'll try to, like, bootstrap some understanding of, like, what it is, what it looks like, what it's like to get roasted by me, which is more like a nice hug, maybe, I hope, with some important ideas and some feedback. But otherwise, I'm just going to do like $20 to start out with, because I don't really want money to be the thing that holds me back from testing this. I want to, can't be nothing. It has to cost something, and that either has to be the public exposure to it, or it has to be private and cost like a couple bucks. So just so people follow through and actually make the map and actually send it to me and things like that. So thinking about that, and yeah, so instead of making a big old landing page and doing all this stuff, I'm just sort of like talking to people and seeing if we can work our way towards our first test here. And if nobody wants to do a free thing for the public, then what I'll do is go find some maps and critique them. I've got some maps of my own. I could actually critique some of my past maps and then just use that as a demo and put that on landing pages and things like that. So that's what I'm thinking about. There's more stuff that I did today, like going through email and doing some admin work. I did some more, another session with someone who is testing out my skills pivot course. So that was fun. I had a coaching session. I was the client. That's always really helpful, making sure that I'm on track, things like that, keeping my head clear. And the other thing is we went to the post office because sort of as a fun kind of like weekend thing, my spouse and I do a little bit of reselling. So we find things in thrift stores and sell them online. This weird item that I found, I'll share an image of it here. It's an automatic or a motorized pencil eraser, which is the wildest thing. But apparently this is like an old tool that used to be really useful for like drafts people, like drawing all sorts of things, and they needed to like have a very quick way to erase something. Wild thing, but it finally sold today, so that was exciting to get out the door. Yeah, I think that's about all I have for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.